This thing always catches me taking a gulp of water. So, all right, let me get a little comfortable. And we can get started. I think my mom was just calling me. Okay. So I am Lene Willis, and I am bringing to you today some feedback on episode 5 of the Ultimatum, Marry or Move On. I was able to watch it and jot down a few quick notes. So I want to take this quick opportunity to share my thoughts. I feel like there was so much that happened in this past episode. First of all, Nick is spiraling. It seems. Would I say it's normal? For someone who probably experiences or have a history of experiencing anxiety, what Nick is experiencing is typical, right? This is how a spiral unfolds. You think something's happening, or there's evidence, possible evidence of things happening, and then you begin to put the pieces together. And I think what's leading to his spiral is him believing that Sandy and JR are getting it in, and Sandy's gonna leave him for JR, and it's all his fault because he brought her to the show. So I think that's part of what's going on there. But apparently, this spiral is also allowing him to be in a creative space, and I wonder, I want to diagnose him so bad, but I will not because that's not appropriate. So let's just go ahead and skip on to Zaina. So something I noticed from about her, and this is not an issue. Some men like it, some men don't. Apparently, Zaina does not cook. Um, and this is something that Scotty and JR have noticed. And some men don't necessarily care if a woman cannot cook or isn't like a huge cook or enjoy cooking. But it seems like it may be a deal breaker to the both of them, to both Scotty and to JR. But again, there are so many other things that women are gifted at and interested in, and cooking may not be one of them for some of them, and that's okay. But I just want to make sure I point that out because I feel like Zaina, in a lot of ways, is probably going to end up holding the short end of the stick because JR is definitely feeling things out with Sandy, and then Scotty is seeing or noticing some things about Zaina that may not necessarily work in the long run, I guess, for him. When you think about the type of relationship or the type of marriage that he's looking to get into, Zaina may not necessarily fit the bill for everything, like those traditional female roles. And so now it makes sense why Arya is like, well, if we get married, she's probably going to have to fall into a lot of those like traditional, typical feminine roles, and she's not ready to give up who she is and her career goals and her individual goals and things like that. So there has to be a meeting of the minds, I would say, between Scotty and Arya in order for them to be able to come back together, reconnect, and make their marriage work if they were to go down that route. But I'm interested to see most Scotty and Arya's reconnection post the trial marriages. Now, Arya pointed out that she can be more affectionate, and observing her with Caleb touching him, it demonstrates her ability to practice vulnerability. But I also feel like if she was not connected to Caleb and felt comfortable and safe being to express that vulnerable side of her, it she may not have been able to do so, but I think her being able to feel things out with Caleb is giving her an opportunity to do that and be okay with the expression of that vulnerability. So I'm hoping that that is something that she can take back into her trial marriage with her previous partner, Scotty. Now, Sandy spoke about the mental stability and um and the types of vulnerability that she has with Nick when she, her mom, and I think a couple of her friends met up so that they can meet JR. So apparently they've been hearing so much about JR. Sandy's mom wanted to get closer to him. Clearly, everyone is feeling him. They think he's so attractive. And JR is kind of giving this like smooth, suave type of response as he, parlays with them. But I think it's interesting that Sandy's friends have been telling her that Nick isn't stable. So a lot of the reasons why it makes so much sense why Sandy has not necessarily seriously taken Nick on. You see a different side of Sandy in her relationship, in her trial marriage with JR. She is talking more about marriage. She's talking about what she would like and what marriage would feel like, and having, wanting to have kids and all of that. And it didn't seem like she typically have these types of conversations when Nick haven't been that they've been dating for a number of years. I think they probably, I don't remember how long they were dating, but I do remember, let me see, I could probably pull it up because I think I have it in my notes. So I know that they'd been dating for at least 2 years or so. Where is it? They've been dating for 2.5 years. So it's not the oldest couple in, out of the bunch, but they've been dating for quite some time. And Sandy doesn't necessarily seem to have expressed to Nick an interest in or desire really in getting married to Nick. And I think that that should be a super red flag for him, that she's not really that into him. She likes him. He seems to be a good fit in some ways, but they're very different. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's because of age, but it could be age because she's what, 10 years his junior. But regardless of that, the point is that she is having these conversations with JR, conversations that it seems like she had not had with Nick. And this is a problem. Not to mention her friends. This is something else I wanted to focus on. Her friends doesn't necessarily seem interested in Nick. And when you're dating someone, if your friends don't have a buy-in on your partner, it makes you less interested in wanting to be with them in the long run. It's just that heavy of a um of an influence that friends and family, the influence that they have on a relationship. So if your friends and your family are not about it, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a good fit, then it just makes it that much more difficult and challenging for you to try to make a relationship work with a partner who no one really cares about, no one wants to like mess with. So it makes sense why they haven't gotten married. So also, just the way that Nick has responded, it makes sense now why Vanessa left. I think Vanessa, to me, the way that she showed up in her trial marriage was just very open to Nick. But I also could tell that she realized very early on, like something I mentioned, I think before, that he may not be able to deal with the fact that Sandy is with someone else. And I think Nick is so focused on the fact that she's with JR. Um, that I think it impacts his ability to really go through this process. He's trying to stay into it, but it's a catastrophe. Um, and that's kind of sad. Now, something else that I wanted to point out is that if Nick has been doing this spiraling in his relationship, like what he did the other night, he was like weeping. I felt like it was like weeping and gnashing of teeth. um, I get it. He was just really going through it. I feel really bad for him. So I would have to agree with Mariah, who's kind of been an observant of Nick and his behavior because her child husband also left Micah. Micah left. So I have to agree with Mariah that he does not make he would not make a great husband. And I think a part of that is because in order to be in a healthy relationship and in a healthy marriage, you must be emotionally sound. And I want to just pause and talk a little bit about that. I don't want to make it seem as though dating someone who has a mental illness is completely um I don't want to make it seem as though like you just would not be able to date someone who has a mental illness. There are a lot of people who have mental health diagnoses that are functioning at a capacity, and their partners are supportive of them, and those individuals are supportive of themselves. Okay, so yes, you can date someone, you can marry someone who is experiencing mental health symptoms. However, if you are currently in a state of being emotionally unstable, if you're in a state of unwell, you need to be able to be directed to someone who can support you, a professional who can support you, not just so that you can be prepared for a relationship or to be prepared for a marriage, but so that you can show up for yourself, right? You want to be able to have this skill set within you where you can become emotionally stable on your own with talk therapy, with drug therapy if that's something that you need. Sometimes some people need medications to manage the symptoms that they're experiencing. And while I portray myself and I am and I practice being a holistic provider in that I don't necessarily tell everyone to run to psychotropic medications to help them with processing or managing their mental illness. There are situations where medications are necessary, right? And so I don't know if it doesn't seem like this is a one-time situation for Nick having been in this emotionally unstable place. But if this is something that is cyclic in his relationship with Sandy, then he's not in an emotional state where he's even ready to be in a relationship with her, much less marriage, right? When you marry someone who has a mental illness, especially something like depression, you have to be able to be emotionally available for them to help them take the necessary steps so that they could become stable in the event something triggers them, right? And if you're not necessarily interested in being in that role, or and I'm not saying that Sandy wouldn't do that. I don't get a sense that she's invested in Nick enough to be that for him. I do believe that just kind of seeing the way that she's hands-on with JR, that she possesses skills to care or to be like a caretaker for someone who is experiencing a spiral. But I don't know. I don't know if she has enough connection to Nick to want to do and be that for him. I don't know. We'll see. Moving forward. Um, Now Mariah, not Mariah, Aria and Caleb were having a conversation about whether Aria should have a conversation with Mariah about the feelings that have been developing, the emotional connection that Caleb and her and that they've been developing. And Caleb was like, nah, sis. What we're not going to do is go and talk to my girl about this emotional connection. In fact, Caleb has been denying it. Now, I do think that he has been connecting with Arya emotionally. I see it. I feel like he's been trying to stop himself from doing so because he is loyal to Mariah and he wants to be in a relationship with Mariah. Even though he was the one that was brought the to the show, to the ultimatum. I just think that he really wants to give Mariah a fair chance to really do some investigation within herself to see if marriage to him is the best fit for her. Now, would he actually propose to Mariah at the end of this? I don't know. I don't know because I do get a sense that he's emotionally connecting to Arya. And now, granted, you put yourself in these positions where you're in this trial marriage by default. How can I say this? It's like a sugar pill, right? If you think something's going to work and there are some opportunities to make it work, then it could work or it starts looking like it could work, right? I want to say a sugar pill when you think of like drug trials where they give some individuals or some participants a sugar pill versus the actual drug. You can see that you could determine the efficacy of the drug, right? Sometimes some people who are taking the sugar pill, they get better because they believe that they have the drug and they believe that they want to be better. And so in this believable trial marriage that Caleb and Aria are forming, there's some sense that the relationship could work, right? And I think when you go into these trial marriages, it tells these individuals or it creates this type of unexplainable chemistry in some way, an emotional connection that makes the individuals feel like the relationship could work outside of just the entire show. Similar to like Scotty and Zaina. But is there something genuine about the connection that Arya and Caleb has? I would say yes, especially because Arya was not originally extremely physically drawn to Caleb. She grew to enjoy Caleb because of the level of support and openness and vulnerability that he showed to her. Caleb has a calmness, and which is why I describe him or compare him to Obama because they both have this presence it's like a quiet presence that just seems open and welcoming, and Arya is connecting to that. However, Caleb wasn't about that life. Caleb was like, nah, we're not doing that. But Arya still kind of took it upon herself to have some kind of conversation with her. And I know a lot of this show was edited, so we don't know how much was actually said or how Arya said it. But Arya, from what we saw, it did not come off as though Arya was saying that yes, Caleb is connecting to me emotionally. It's just kind of like we are connecting, and I didn't realize that this was something that I was even capable of doing because this is not necessarily something that I've been doing, which is that vulnerability piece. Anyway, jumping forward, um, now, who told JR that Scotty said he is using this whole situation as a hall pass? I don't know. I don't know who stands to gain from that manipulative statement, but that right there is a manipulative statement if I've never seen one. It could just be the producers saying stuff to kind of hype things up. But why is Scotty? Like, why say it's Scotty? I don't know why. I don't know what. I don't know. I don't. JR was saying that it could be to try to dissuade Zaina from wanting to be with JR. But I don't know if that's even the case. I don't know. We'll see. So jumping forward, um, Scotty's comment about there's never been no man that's never found Arya to be attractive and want to build something with her beyond a friendship. Which is interesting. Like he has a lot of faith in Arya's beauty. And granted, she's beautiful. She's cute. It's just the fact the way that he said that, I don't know. I didn't know where he was going with that. Scotty, something about you, man. I can't put my finger on it. And I mean I could put my finger on it, but I don't want to really say because it's not everything that I share or I pick up, I think is appropriate to communicate. Anyways, do I think Caleb is falling for Arya? Not exactly. Does he at least admire her? Absolutely. Does he find her attractive? Definitely. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's falling in love with her. I think in love is a huge step. I think there is a connection, but love and him wanting to leave his relationship with Mariah to then go and be with Arya. I don't know. I don't know if I would say that, but I think that he values the fact that Arya is independent and she knows what it takes to be in a marriage to Scotty, and she's not ready for that. I think Caleb values that in Arya. I'll say that. Now, as far as like therapeutic points for this episode, we were talking about or they were talking about like love languages in some regard, right? They were talking about like physical touch. And now physical touch could look different to different people, right? Physical touch could be, hand on a shoulder, holding hands when walking in public, patting a booty, here or there, kissing, a lot of PDA. It just depends, right, on what it is that you like. But whatever your physical touch is, and not physical touch, whatever your love language is, you do need to make sure that you identify and you can define what that looks like so that with your partner you can share it so that they can provide you with your love language in the way that you need it and in the frequency that you need it. So the five love languages, gifts, physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and what am I missing? I'm missing something else. I said quality time and physical touch. If I didn't say physical touch, I think it was physical touch. All right. Now, what do you do with the real feelings that you are developing for others in these trial marriages? I kind of touched on it a little bit with the sugar pill type vibes. You have to recognize that this is a trial marriage. And so the feelings that may be developing or what you believe are feelings that could be developing may not necessarily be feelings at all in that regard, right? But I think it's important to sit and be honest with yourself about the interactions that you're having with the person that you're in this trial marriage with, and really try to sift out if this is something that's real and tangible, or if this is something that is, mirrors and smoke, because of the situation that you're placed in, right? These people go on these romantic dates, they're having all these romantic moments. The producers are asking them specific questions to get them thinking about their partners in these trial marriages. And so all these things can kind of feed into the connection that you believe you're building, which can seem like, oh, this is love or this is a deep emotional connection, when in reality, it is not. Outside of like the lights, camera, action, it may not be anything at all. But I'm going to leave y'all on this note. Did JR and Sandy have sex? I think so. But thinking so doesn't mean it happened, right? And I guess we got to see what happens in the next episodes that are released later this week. All right. Well, with that, I am done. Excuse me. I don't know why this is looking so foggy. I don't know what it is. I swear I do not have the blur in my background on. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna have to shut down Zoom and start all over again. But thank you for watching. If you have any feedback, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or you can respond to any of these videos. And thanks for watching. Deuces.